Hey guys, it's Mo. Welcome back to Reading with Mo, and today we are going to be talking about all of the books that I'm planning on getting to in the month of February. Now, February here in the States is Black History Month, and so I always like to, I always try to read diversely anyway. For the month of February, I will be reading predominantly or majority of books by Black authors. And so yeah, let's just get into it. There's a couple of readathons that are happening this month. I think I've participated in Blackathon before, but this year I decided I didn't really want to participate in any readathons. I just want to pick up whatever books I want to throughout the month, and just trying to keep in mind that I'm trying to focus more on Black authors this month. So first, there's a couple books that are going to be rolling over from my January TBR that I did not get to. For this stack here, there were two books, Dream Sequence and Valerie, that I did not get to. This was part of the readathon that's like all going on all year round, hosted by Kayla from Books and Lala, the Buzzwordathon. I was able to read one book. I had chosen 3 for that, but I just did not get to the other 2, and I know I'm not gonna have enough time to finish them or even start them. And then 2 of them were books that were sent to me that I didn't get a chance to, that were released in January that I didn't get a chance to read. And that is The Push by Ashley O'Drain and Mrs. Dalloway by Virginia Woolf. So this one, I feel like for sure I'll probably start before January actually starts. This video will be going up today, which is a little bit before the end of January, so I might have a chance to start one of these. And then I'm really bummed that I didn't get to The 13th Tale by Diane Setterfield. So this one is going to be crossing over to February too. If I do get a chance to get through these books back here that I have picked out, then this is one that I do want to make a priority if I'm able to have the time. I love books about books, and that's kind of what this one is themed and centered around. And I did read The Storied Life of A.J. Fikry during January, and I really loved that book, so I'm hoping that this one will be another hit too as far as the whole books about books subgenre. So now let's get into the other books that I have planned on getting to in the month of February. I have 2, actually. First I was going to mention that I do not have physical copies of yet, but I'm really excited. I was able to, I reached out to Simon & Schuster because they had a couple of books by Black authors that I was wanting to read. The first one was The Yellow Wife by Sidika Johnson, I believe. Let me just double check that that was her correct last name. Yeah, so it's Sidika Johnson, and this one just got released in the month of January, and I have the audiobook from Audible, and I've started it, but I haven't completed it yet. I will finish it in the month of February. And this one is about a woman who, well, at the beginning of the book, she's a teenager. She is born into slavery. She is mixed. She's half black, half white. And she is hoping to gain her freedom. She's been promised her freedom when she's 18, but of course nothing ever goes smoothly, and these kind of like historical fiction novels centered around the slavery narrative. So we're following her journey through the slave trade system. I won't really say too much to give away more of stuff that happens in that book, but I am enjoying it so far, so I'm going to be reading that one. The other book that I requested from them was a nonfiction book, and that one is called Frederick Douglass, Prophet of Freedom by David W. Blight. And this one is a nonfiction book all about Frederick Douglass. I'm sure many of you probably have heard of his name, or at least somewhat a little bit familiar with him. He was a young man who grew up in slavery but was able to escape and make just a big life for himself, speaking out against slavery. And I don't know a lot of the specifics on his life. Like, I just know like some of like the more general things, so I am curious to know a little bit more about his story. Next, we have a book that I have not shown you guys yet because it just came in the mail today. It was a pre-order that I had ordered from Waterstones about a month or so ago, and that was Luster by Raven Leilani, and this is the Waterstones signed exclusive edition, so it has these really nice orange sprayed edges on it. In this book, we're following a young black woman, and she works in a predominantly white office, and nothing seems to be really going right for her as far as like relationships, her career. She was into art and stuff, but yeah, nothing is going right for her. She ends up starting this relationship slash affair with this man who is in an open marriage. Typically, that type of relationship trope isn't something that I enjoy reading or pick up a lot of books about. But reading the synopsis on this one is still kind of intrigued me to want to read this book and see what it's all about. Then we have an essay collection. It's The Incredible Shrinking Woman by Athena Dixon. This one should be a very quick read because I think this is only just barely over 100 pages. This one is described as a quiet retelling of life in the background. It's the author's debut essay collection, and it's unpacking the roles she learned to inhabit growing up as a Black woman in a small Midwestern town to avoid disruption. After her life implodes on itself, then she has to explore the implications of her desire to hide as she rebuilds herself in a world that expects freedom to look boisterous. Essay collections aren't something I typically reach for a lot, but the topics that this one kind of touches on are what drew me into wanting to read this, as well as like the cover on this is just so beautiful. Then I want to read Black Sunday by Tola Rotimi Abraham. In this one, we're following the story of two twin sisters, and it takes place in the late 90s in Lagos. And they are growing up with their family. I think they end up like having some political stuff that's going on where they're living, and they end up in not the best situation money-wise. I believe their family somehow loses everything. They get tied up into also this religious church. It's called New Church, an institution led by a charismatic pastor who is not shy about worshiping earthly wealth. So I believe like once their family starts going into poverty, they're split up and they each go down different paths. Then we have a short story collection, and that one is Hitting a Straight Lick with a Crooked Stick. This is by Zora Neale Hurston. She wrote Their Eyes Are Watching God, which is a book that I've really enjoyed and want to reread eventually. I just don't know when, but I want to read more from her for sure. So this is her short story collection. I don't really know too much about what each specific short story is about, but I know there's a foreword by Terry Jones who, if you're familiar with the book An American Marriage, then she wrote that one as well. So this one is a collection of Harlem Renaissance stories, and I believe they take place in about the 20s. That sounds really interesting to me, and I haven't really read, I don't think, a short story collection in a while, so I'm excited to get to this one. Then we have a young adult book, and that is The Good Luck Girls by Charlotte Nicole Davis. This one, I believe, is the first in, I don't know if it's a duology or how many books exactly are going to be in the series, but I know that it is the first one in a series. In this book, we're following 5 girls, and they're part of this like welcome house. I believe the setting is kind of around like a desert western type of setting, and something happens. One of them accidentally ends up killing a man, and all of them end up going on the run. I don't know. I think there's some sort of like science fiction or something a little bit more to this story, but I don't really want to look too much into it and spoil myself, so I'm going to wait and see until I read this one. Then another short story collection that I hope to get to for February is by Langston Hughes, and this one is called The Best of Simple. I love the cover on this edition. It's really cute. I haven't read, I don't think, any of Langston Hughes' books or works before. Maybe if I did, it would have just been random stuff that we were assigned in sometime in school that I don't really remember. I believe these are all stories, like a collection of his most favorite ones that were following that were part of a weekly column in the Chicago Defender, and we're following the main character. His name is Simple, who's considered an everyman for Black Americans. So I'm glad to finally kind of dip my toes into Langston Hughes' writing and see if maybe I want to explore more of his work in the future. And we have another nonfiction book, and this one is called Our Nig, or Sketches from the Life of a Free Black by Harriet E. Wilson. This one is described as a fusion of 2 literary modes, the sentimental novel and the slave narrative, and it's a pretty historically significant book, and it's dealing with the main character. Her name is Fredo. I believe this one is nonfiction. She's a mulatto girl who was abandoned by her white mother after the death of the child's Black father, and grew up as an indentured servant to a white family in 19th century Massachusetts. I had heard about this book, if you're familiar with the Zora canon list. It's one of the books that is on that list, and eventually I want to read my way through all of the books that are on that list. I believe there's about like 100, but I first heard about this book from that list, so I want to see if I like this one or not. Next, we have 2 books that go together, one of them being a reread. The first one is Dear Martin by Nick Stone, and the follow-up, Dear Justice. So I have read Dear Martin before and I really enjoyed it, and Dear Justice came out pretty recently too. I'm wanting to reread Dear Martin. I believe they take place in like the same universe, but same fictional universe based off of like reality now, but different characters. So yeah, I want to reread Dear Martin first because I believe that Justyce, who's the character in here, also appears in this one as well. So yeah, I want to read both of them back to back so I can refamiliarize myself with the story. Both of these are young adult books and they're exploring race and inequality, but through the eyes of young Black teenagers. I really would recommend them. I mean, I haven't read the second one yet, but I have a feeling I already am really gonna like it. Then we have something that I never really read, hardly, and that is a play, and it is called The Lamplighter by Jackie Kay. I think this is a play, I think the author is a British author if I remember right. Actually, no, I am wrong. I believe the author is Scottish because it says she was born in Edinburgh and is a Scottish poet laureate. This play is a look into Britain's legacy in the slave trade. It was first produced as a play, and then on the page it reads as a profound and tragic choral poem, and it's following 4 women and 1 man who tell the story of their lives through slavery, from the fort to the slave ship, through the Middle Passage, following life on the plantations, charting the growth of the British city and in the Industrial Revolution. That is a lot of things to cover in this really small play. Like, this is only 90 pages, so I'm very curious to see how I get on with this because I have, like I said, I haven't really read too many plays before, and kind of similar with poetry. I haven't really experienced them a lot, and I don't really know what I like or what I'm looking for yet when I'm reading those types of formats of books, so I hope this is one that I end up really enjoying. And then the last 2 books are both from the same author, and that author is Gail Jones. The first one we have is Eva's Man, and the second one is Corregidora. Gail Jones is an American writer, and in the first one with Eva's Man, we're following a woman who is in a psychiatric ward. She's murdered her lover and they want to know why, and her memories are going back and forth between being in the psych ward and the events that led up to her being committed there. And then the second one was Corregidora, and in this one we're following a blues singer, and she is consumed by her hatred of Corregidora, who was a 19th century slave master who fathered both her mother and her grandmother. I've heard nothing but good things about this author, so I'm excited to try both of these, or at least get to one of them, so I can see if Gail Jones writing is something that I enjoy. So those are the books that I have picked out so far to read for the month of February. I hope I can get to all of them. I haven't counted them up, but I think I am being a little bit ambitious, which honestly I usually am. I like to have a lot of books to choose from throughout the month so that I'm not like too strict on a list that I'm following. I have a room to mood read. There might be other books that I add in depending on if I'm able to get audiobooks of any of these from my library or not. But yeah, I will definitely keep you guys updated. I will do a wrap up at the end of the month of all of the books that I was able to get to, so make sure you're subscribed so that you can see that right away when I post that video. But that's it for this one. Let me know what you guys are planning on reading in the month of February, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!